Hello there everyone, Mediocre Otaku here, and today we're going to be doing part 2 of my Dragon Ball dubbing series thing. If you didn't see part 1, it's not really necessary to watch this. I might reference some stuff here and there, but there's nothing really major that you absolutely need to know from part 1. But that's all I'm going to do for the intro for this. Let's just get right into it because there is a lot to talk about. Needless to say, this is probably not the first dub you guys were expecting me to talk about. However, in 1993, Creative Products, who I talked about in my previous video, produced an English dub for Dragon Ball Z to be broadcast in the Philippines. Now, it seems that they only dubbed episodes 1 through 26 before they canceled it for whatever reason. I'm not really sure. Like I said, their whole thing is sort of shrouded in mystery. However, a few episodes have been recovered, and you can watch them if you want to, which is awesome because none of their dub of Dragon Ball has been found. Other than the opening theme song, we don't know anything about the broadcast of their Dragon Ball dub. So it's good to actually have something to go back and watch. Now, apparently, after some time, they came back and started dubbing DBZ again, but they only made it up to like the early Namek stuff. I don't think any of those episodes have been recovered. It's only been some random ones from the first 26. But why they stopped again, I can't really say. From what I've seen, it doesn't look like they finished up Dragon Ball's dub either. So I don't know if they were just having like financial issues or it wasn't doing well or what exactly. But yeah, they tried twice to dub DBZ and left it incomplete both times. All right, we're going to be talking about the Ocean dub, but I'm going to be referring to this specific part of the Ocean dub as the Saban dub for reasons that I will be getting into later on. Needless to say, it is some weird and complicated shit. This was Funimation's initial dub of the series before they started to do everything in-house. Like I mentioned in the Dragon Ball video, Funimation was just starting up at this point, and they had to outsource a lot of their stuff. So they teamed up with Saban and Ocean Studios in order to produce this dub, and teamed up with Pioneer for the home releases. Now, Saban had a pretty major say in the production of this dub. They're the ones that were responsible for pretty much all of the censorship. Saban was responsible for a lot of the edits that were done for these first, this is the first 67 episodes of the Japanese run, which equates to the 53 episodes of the Ocean dub that aired in the US. Obviously, Saban felt like they had to cut out a lot of content for one reason or another, but once Funimation stopped partnering with them, because I believe Saban had other projects that they had to focus on, but yeah, once Funimation pretty much took over everything themselves, you'll notice that much fewer edits were made, and well, I think that is a good thing. Yeah, this dub is, a classic. It has the iconic Rock the Dragon theme, which pretty much everyone knows. and it really set the groundwork for Funimation and put them off on the right foot and made them a decent enough amount of money that I guess they could make the decision to continue dubbing the show and do it on their own. Who knows where Funimation would be today if they just decided to drop this show? I guess it was kind of a situation where they're like, we have to make this work because who knows how much money they spent on getting the rights to the show to begin with. This dub also featured new music. Shuki Levy, I hope I'm saying that right. I think was the only person like credited, but supposedly Ron Wasserman and Haim Saban himself also helped with the score, uncredited apparently. But for now, that's all I really have to say about what Ocean Studios did, at least for this portion of this video. Like I said, I will be talking about them more a little bit further down the road. So just about a year after Funimation lost their partnership with Saban, they started doing their own dub, which aired on the pretty well-known Toonami block on Cartoon Network. The beginnings of this dub were kind of awkward. I'll go back and watch it once in a while, but I really just go back to laugh at how awful this dub is. The actors were, at the time, doing their best to imitate what the Ocean dub actors had been doing. So if you go back and watch some of the original like DVDs before they got remastered and everything, you'll hear Christopher Sabat's Vegeta is like super high pitched. Sean Schemmel as Goku is like really nasally. It's just kind of all over the place. Eventually, they sort of figured out how to do their own thing, and that's why they had to go back and redub some of that stuff because it really didn't fit in with the later episodes and how they sounded. But this dub also featured another new musical score from Bruce Falconer. And this music was in a similar vein to what Shuki Levy provided for the Saban version. But needless to say, this is the most well-known English version of the show. Like, if you grew up in the US watching it, this is the dub that you heard most of the time, unless they decided to re-air the old Saban episodes. And really the only reason why Funimation switched to dubbing their stuff in-house is because they didn't feel like they could afford outsourcing to Ocean Studios on their own without the financial support of Saban. So that they just found a bunch of local talent in Texas and they made it work. It's impressive that they made it work with all of these people who, as far as I know, really didn't have any sort of professional voice acting gigs prior to this. Like, I've seen a pretty good amount of dubbed anime, and I don't recall seeing like any of these people prior to this dub, which is largely because none of the other big anime companies were based in Texas, I guess. So people probably weren't gonna fly out from all over the country just to get involved in this dub. But even though I do think this dub is kind of hokey at this point, I do still appreciate it because it is what got me into anime in the first place. Okay, I'm just going to talk about the speed up here because I really am not 100% sure when this started airing or being released. So this dub aired in Malaysia. And there's just a lot of mystery surrounding this dub. Like, the episodes that I have seen, because I've watched a couple of full episodes, like, they don't have any sort of credits. So we don't know, like, who the voice actors are or who anyone was behind the scenes. I did see a post on Kanzenshu where someone who supposedly grew up in Malaysia um, was talking about their experience with this dub, but this person said a lot of stuff that just like blatantly wasn't true. So I don't really know um, how much of that I should believe, but presumably they still have more knowledge about this dub than I would. And also, I have not looked into this myself, but apparently they got their footage from the Latin American dub of the show. So what they would do is they would, whenever someone in that dub was talking, they would just mute the audio. Which I guess, like, even if there was music playing, or if there was some sort of sound effect like going halfway through, like all of that would just get muted, and then uh, they would just dub over it. Like, I guess they might like loop some sound effects here and there once in a while, but super low budget, super like bootleg quality stuff. And apparently they didn't even completely mute this shit some of the times, because I've heard that um, if you turn it up loud enough, you can still hear the American voice actors like screaming in the background, which is super funny to me. And yeah, this is the worst dub. Like, bar none, this is the worst dub. There's some other pretty bad ones, but this one takes the cake. It's a lot of like grammatical issues, um, which I mean I don't know anything about Malaysia. I'm assuming because this was produced for Malaysia, um, there's a good number of people there that speak English, but maybe it's like a dialect thing. I don't know. It's not right by like American grammar standards at the very least. Not sure exactly how this dub happened. That Kanzenshu post said that supposedly Saban was sort of gave them gave Speedy the rights under the table or something. Like, which I don't know how that would work. I don't think Saban would have done that because they were a pretty reputable company as far as I'm aware. Um, but like I said, that post had a bunch of other stuff in it that was just blatantly inaccurate and not true. So I doubt that's what happened. Well, I mean, I guess it could have, but I highly doubt that's what happened. So I don't know what the hell the production of this dub was like. But if you have the time to check out some clips or find like a full episode or one of the movies or something, I highly suggest you check it out just to see how bad it is. And then you'll probably appreciate some of the other English dubs a little bit more afterwards. Funimation's dub would not remain the only English dub in North America for all that long, though, because by episode 123, and I'm referring to the uncut episode numbers because that'd be way too confusing to keep jumping back and forth, Ocean returned and started broadcasting the new and unimproved Ocean dub in Canada and in Europe. If you watched my previous video, you'll know about how AB Group had distribution rights in a bunch of different countries in Europe, and they wanted to produce their own dub because it was cheaper. So that's basically how this dub and the alternate English dub for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball GT all came about. And as I also mentioned in that video, in Canada, a certain percentage of what's broadcast on their TV stations needs to be produced in Canada. So, in order to meet guidelines, that's why this dub was aired in Canada, because it was all produced in Vancouver. Now, when the Ocean dub returned, it was pretty noticeably worse than the initial run where they worked with Saban. And that's because they had to rush to sort of catch up to where Funimation was, because Funimation was like 60 episodes ahead of where Saban left off. So they had to cover a lot of ground. And it meant that there is no sort of Ocean dub from like Captain Ginyu up until Trunks kills Mecha Frieza, which is strange. But I mean, they didn't want to go back and redub all this stuff that had already aired, so I can understand why they didn't. Yeah, because this dub was so rushed, like a lot of actors, like they didn't really know what was going on in the scenes that they were acting for, so a lot of them just have like almost no emotion. And Goku went through a voice actor change, which had already happened with the previous Saban dub, so it's not like anything major. Um, I think other voice actors ended up leaving just because they couldn't handle the production schedule, which is fair. And since Saban was not involved, this dub no longer had the music that Shuki Levy did back for the initial 53 episode Saban run. So they basically recycled a bunch of music from stuff that Ocean Studios had previously worked on. I know Mega Man is the one that people talk about the most. I've never seen that Mega Man show, so I don't really know how much of the music is reused specifically from that. But yeah, very little new music for this. It was a lot of just recycled stuff. This dub also basically uses the same script that Funimation did. Apparently, Ocean Studios was like helping Funimation with the scripting once Funimation went on their own. So they would change very minor things here and there. The most notable sort of name change thing that I am aware of is they changed the name of instant transmission to instant translocation. I don't really understand why they made that change, but hey, it's a cool piece of trivia, I guess, if you didn't know it already. What's also really funny to me about this is, once Funimation did their own in-house dubbing, the actors were initially trying their best to sound like the Ocean dub actors. But now that the Funimation dub had been airing in Canada and probably in Europe, I'm guessing. Now that the Ocean actors were back, they, they were trying to sort of imitate the Funimation actors. So it's this really weird thing where they were trying to copy copies of themselves, which is just super bizarre to me. But yeah, these episodes never got any sort of DVD release. It'd be cool if they did at some point. I mean, I would buy like a full Ocean dub DVD thing, even though there'd be like 60 episodes that are just completely missing. But you get my point. Even though this, I'd probably only really watch it once because I just prefer the Japanese version. It'd be a cool little thing to have because I do like having the Ocean dub on hand just in case I'd want to go back. And I mean, this part of it wouldn't really be nostalgic for me, but in spirit, it would be sort of nostalgic for me to go back and watch these other episodes with the original voice cast.
I had no idea how much fun it was going to be, totally destroying this miserable planet and all its inhabitants. Everything, every person pulled into the turbulence.
Hey! Big Green!
I want the magic stick!
This is where things get a little bit more complicated, as AB Group obviously was in charge of the Ocean dub upon its return, but they also were responsible for the infamous Big Green dub, which I have no idea why they decided to change Piccolo's name to Big Green, but it's what they did. And I think, at least from what I've seen, he's the only character that, from the main cast at least, that got a name change like this. It's very weird. For some reason, when AB Group was deciding to make the English dubs for Dragon Ball Z, obviously they, got in contact with Ocean Studios and made that happen for the TV series. But when it came to the movies, they decided to go with a completely different studio, and no one really seems too sure why. You'd think that they would just stick with one or the other, but they, for some reason, managed to make this whole convoluted mess that is the English dubbing history of Dragon Ball Z even more confusing. Now, seemingly AB Group contacted a media company called Bridge Entertainment to produce these dubs, which appears to be a company based in the Netherlands, but I can't really find too much information on them. So it's thought that this dub was recorded either in the Netherlands or in France with people that spoke English, but none of the characters really have very strong accents, so it's kind of strange. I guess they must have found people that can hide their accents decently well. It seems like a lot of foreign actors can manage to pull off American accents for some reason. I know I could not keep up any sort of foreign accent for very long myself. But much like the Malaysian dub, none of the actors have ever been disclosed or credited for anything on this. So once again, there's not a whole lot of information about this dub. This dub is obviously infamous for the poor quality of voice acting and obviously the name changes that I mentioned earlier. And there's also a few points, because I've seen all of movies 2 and 3, I think those are the ones that I saw. But there are a lot of instances where people will be talking and you can tell they're running out of breath because the lines just drag on for so long, which may or may not be a result of this English script being a direct translation of the French script, which makes me wonder whether or not they called Piccolo Big Green in the French dub of this as well. From what I can tell, these were only ever broadcast in Europe. I don't think Canada ever got any of these versions of the movies on TV, which is probably good for them. But much like with the Speedy dub, I would say you probably should check these out if you just want a good laugh. It is much more understandable than the Speedy dub, just because they don't have those thick accents, and obviously the recording studio they're in is actually like a recording studio instead of just being recorded. I don't even know where the hell they recorded the Speedy dub, but it's very clear that it was not done in a professional studio. Now that I'm finally finished talking about the AB Group dubbing situation, I think I am finally ready to put this video to bed. The whole sort of shit going on between AB Group and Ocean Studios and Saban and Funimation and Ocean Studios is all just really, really confusing for anyone that has not been sort of looking into this stuff for, geez, probably like a decade now, like I have. It's a lot of stuff to keep track of, and it's really weird how, the Ocean dub is split into two parts, and then AB Group is responsible for the second half and the movies, and then Funimation is responsible for the first half and their own in-house dub. It's just there's a lot of weird stuff going on. That's just how Dragon Ball Z is. But if you're still sticking around watching, thank you very much for sticking with me for this. And if you watched part 1, thank you for watching that as well. So I do plan on hopefully getting part 3 out much sooner than this, because there's just generally a lot less stuff to talk about. It's much more straightforward. And with this, as you can probably tell, I really just had no idea where to place the speedy dub in the middle of everything. The reason why it was so hard for me to figure out where to place the speedy dub is just because it seems like such a poor note to end on, just simply because of the fact that we really don't know anything about who's in charge of that company, if there even is anyone in charge of that company, or any of the voice actors, or even like the legality of that dub comes into question. And it's just really, I wanted something that was more concrete, which at like this AB Group Bridge Entertainment dub of the movies, like there's still not a whole lot known about them, but at least we are familiar enough with AB Group through their work on bringing back the Ocean dub that it seems like a more sort of satisfying conclusion, at least to me. But what the hell do I know? But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. The most notable example I can think of them changing the names of stuff was the instant transmission. Wow.